Hi everybody, I'm Shawn Yancy, here to talk about a story that these gentlemen have been working on for a long time. I want to introduce them to you. Here is senior investigative reporter Rick Yarborough and photographer, editor Steve Jones, and we're here to talk about the Brad Bishop story. And I'm going to let you guys sort of set this up because you have been working on this story for so long.
It's crazy. There's few stories that stick with you year after year after year, and this is one of those stories that has. Steve and I worked on it about 7 years ago when the FBI ended up placing William Bradford Bishop on the FBI's most wanted list. 40 years after the crime they say he committed. They say back in the 70s. It's a very infamous case that if you're in the DC area, you're familiar with, that he killed his family and took off and disappeared into the Great Smoky Mountains, never to be seen again. So we did a half-hour special on it several years ago, Steve and myself, and ever since I continue to get tips about it. It's the one story that people still call me about, claiming they think he's in their neighborhood. William Bradford Bishop lives in my neighborhood, or I've seen him here, or I was on vacation in Europe and I saw him in Italy or something like that. So it's a story that I've kind of never let go of. And also just because of the brutality of the crime itself, it's just a story that's really stayed with, I think, both of us, because we dove so deep into it and we knew all the details about the case. And then last year, at the end of last year, in the midst of the pandemic, I got a call from a woman. I get a lot of calls about this story. So a lot of them I'm like, okay, you've seen him. But this woman had a different kind of story. She said, I think I might be related to William Bradford Bishop. And I was like, okay. So I listened to her and we kept talking. She is a woman that lives in North Carolina and was adopted. She always knew she was adopted. Decided when she was reaching retirement, she wanted to look for her biological parents. So she used one of those online DNA testing sites and found a cousin in Maine. And that cousin turned out to be an amazing sleuth. Like, she helped this woman find her biological parents through genealogy, DNA that they had used online. And she was the first time that they connected her to the Brad Bishop family.
Okay.
So that's what her story was when she first reached out to me. Fast forward several months, she ended up writing a book about her journey to find her parents. And I was obviously very interested, but there was not 100% proof yet that she was his daughter.
Right.
And then what really got me interested is when she said, I've been talking to the FBI. So we talked to the FBI and we ended up doing an interview with the FBI. And the agent who took over the case in 2018 ended up taking a sample of this woman's DNA and tested it with a profile that they had made from some of the crime scene evidence.
From years ago?
From years ago, from 45 years ago.
Wow.
And what's fascinating to me is that he left behind, he was a smoker, he left behind several cigarette butts in the car that he abandoned in the mountains. And they were able to create a profile of him based on those cigarette butts. So they tested her DNA against that profile, and it was a match.
Wow.
So the FBI has confirmed that this woman is the daughter of William Bradford Bishop.
Steve, you've been working right along with Rick doing this, and I know a lot of times you don't talk about the stuff, but I mean, we've covered so many different things. Where does this fall in line, especially when you hear the story and the journey that's happened with this case?
This is one of the top stories that I've ever worked on. It's interesting because Montgomery County Police collected so much evidence at the crime scene that when we were allowed to visit their evidence room to see some of the evidence, we were in there for hours. There's so much evidence, photos, a shaving kit, just a number of stuff. The rear view mirror from the car that was recovered. So it actually was a very visual story, and it made it easy to tell.
And what's unusual about that is that most crime scenes or crimes, you have one crime scene.
Right.
There were 3 crime scenes. That's why there's so much evidence, because you had where the murders actually took place in the home here in Bethesda. The FBI says that Bishop then drove the bodies down to North Carolina, and that's where he dumped them, and then drove to the Great Smoky Mountains, and that's where he left his car. So you had 3 crime scenes.
Right.
So that's why there's just this incredible amount of evidence left behind from a case from 45 years ago.
I mean, and I think it's kind of exciting or interesting to know that someone was able to create this profile of him from evidence from so long ago.
Because DNA wasn't a thing back then. And
Right.
when DNA started becoming a thing years ago, that's when the FBI said they were able to create this profile based on all of that preserved evidence, and which is just amazing to think about. And the fact of now it's led to a family member of Brad Bishop that no one knew existed is just mind-blowing. I never expected this case to go in this direction.
I'm curious, do you think that he might actually still be alive today?
I doubt it.
You doubt it?
I think with technology, face recognition, especially with DNA, it'd be very hard to be off the FBI's radar.
But would it? I mean, but you know, with all this, and then there's all this talk about him and what his background was too.
So he worked at the State Department, he had a military background. So there's just all this chatter and intrigue about, was he a spy?
Right.
What did he do at the State Department? He traveled abroad a lot. He knew several different languages. Could he have disappeared and created a whole new life? And feasibly he could have. And back in the 70s, we didn't have social media, we didn't have cell phones. It was much easier to just disappear if you wanted to. But the FBI will say that the last confirmed sighting that they had was in 1976, I think the day after the murders, when he was spotted purchasing sneakers at I think it was in North Carolina, a store there. That's the last confirmed sighting that the FBI has of him. There have been a number of alleged sightings ever since, and there was actually one body that was exhumed years ago that there was a chance they thought it might be him, and it turned out not to be him. And they used that I think they used that same profile from the cigarette, but to compare against those remains. So, do I think he's still alive? I mean, he was definitely trained in a way that I think he could have survived and created this whole new life. He would be about 85 now. He was in good shape. So the FBI obviously thought he possibly could be alive, otherwise they would not have put him on the most wanted list. Kathy Gilchrist, she thinks he might be. She thinks he might have created a entire new life with a whole new family. She thinks she might have half siblings out there that she doesn't even know about, that, you know, he went on to have another family. I don't know, I've gone back and forth. Like I agree with Steve in the sense I think with technology today, we would have seen something by now.
Yeah.
But you know, you don't know. You have other cases where people have lived, you know, in plain sight and people didn't know who they were until that one person saw them and reported them to the authorities. So you never know.
So Kathy Gilchrist, I can't imagine after all of those years and finding out her biological father was this notorious man who killed his family. I mean, after finding that out, that had to be huge, but where does she hope this goes from there?
Right. Well, if you read her book, I love the opening line of her book. It says, "I'm a self-proclaimed drama queen that found my biological father on the most wanted list." So she takes it in stride. She has a great sense of humor. So she's not gotten too mired down in the fact that, you know, she has this connection to this really horrific event. She's glad she went on the journey because she found out much more than just about Bishop. She found out she actually has 6 other half-siblings through her biological mother.
Okay.
None of them were fathered by Bishop as well. She's the only one that was fathered by Bishop as far as they know. So she has found an entire new family on this journey, in addition to what she found out about her biological father. So she's very happy she did it. She does think he's alive. I asked her, I'm like, are you worried that, you know, if you're publicizing this, that if he is still alive? She's like, I'm not worried that he would come after me.
Right.
She doesn't even know if he really knows about her, because there's a lot of questions about how Bishop and her biological mother knew each other, what the relationship was. Was it a relationship? Was it a one-night stand? Was it, you know, no one knows. And her biological mother passed before she was able to meet her. So she could never ask her those questions. So
I'm just curious, Steve, if you had the opportunity to talk to Mr. William Bradford Bishop, what would you ask him?
I think it's a question everybody wants to know. Why?
Yeah.
You know, was he actually living another life and or a double life, and he felt that this was the only option to get rid of his family? These are the kind of questions people want to know, and I don't know if it'll ever be answered, really.
Do you think, or do you know, does the FBI have plans to, so now that they've confirmed she's his daughter, what are they doing?
So they've been able to identify additional family members of Bishop that they didn't know about, that they're able to talk to.
Okay.
Who knew him in that time frame of when he would have fathered Kathy. So it opens up a whole nother avenue of what was he going through at that time, and did he know about Kathy, and did he have a whole separate life that his family didn't know about, and could that have contributed to the motive of whatever happened that day on March 1st, 1976? It was, if you look at the timeline of events, yes, obviously something happened where he snapped, according to the FBI, but it was very, the steps he took that day. He left work, he made 2 stops. He bought the gas can, he bought the shovel, he bought the pitchfork, he bought the sledgehammer. It was very thought out.
Right.
And then to go, home and do what they say he did, and then to drive the there are some thoughts that, he was having money problems, the family was having money problems, that possibly he wasn't getting the promotion he wanted at work, but who knows? What makes someone snap like that? And I don't know if we'll ever know.
That's, I think, the most intriguing part of all of this.
Right.
I often wonder, so now that they have her as the DNA match and, the technology that exists now, do they put that into Interpol and try to find, whatever they can someplace else? But, it's...
That's the big question. I'm like, could, the fact that she exists and has some of Bishop's DNA, could that lead to other discoveries of, are there other half siblings out there? And the FBI wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
They wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
They were saying, what we hope is that we can talk to people that we didn't know existed, that knew him, that it possibly could help contribute to finding out what the motive was and what was going on in his life around that time. So who knows though? We never expected this to happen with Kathy, so who knows what the next chapter in the Bishop case is.
I'm excited to be a part of this journey now with you guys. We worked together many, many years ago, and it's great to be back working together again. So do you think that we'll continue to follow this to see wherever it goes?
I don't think this is a story I can let go of. Steve and I talk about this story a lot. We did quite, when we were shooting the special several years ago, we had a huge trip that we took where we actually retraced his path and went from Bethesda to North Carolina, interviewed the park ranger who actually found the remains, and then went to the Smoky Mountains. And just all the people that we've interviewed over the years who've been impacted by this crime, it's never going to leave them, and I don't think it'll ever leave us. So I think every time I get a call or a possible tip, my ears are going to perk up and I'm going to listen. Because you never know, as we found out this time, right?
You never know. You got some final thoughts?
Kathy, she ends the story talking about the surprises of DNA matching, and it's kind of interesting because, a lot of times people find out that their father is not actually their father, or maybe their uncle or another member of their family, and I think it was pretty shocking for her to figure out that, oh, my father is, a notorious murderer.
Yeah. Be careful with DNA, right? You never know what you're going to find.
You never know. How many of us have sent in and, you just never know.
Right.
So, all right, lessons learned.